home. They have another court date.
We demand due process. ICE is in breach of the Constitution of the United States of America.
Scary. I've never seen it like this.
He has not committed any crime.
I think people don't realize what's actually happening. The individuals who go to court are trying to do things the right way.
We do come across people that are just here illegally. We will no longer turn a blind eye to them.
It's not a criminal prison that they're going to, but it sure does look and feel like one.
We had 4 years of an administration who completely ignored and evaded our nation's very clear immigration laws.
It's hard for me to explain how upsetting it is to me to know that this is going on in the country that I love, and instead I feel ashamed.
It's not the way God works, and it's not the way the church works.
The sounds of grief, the wails that I've heard from people.
The Trump administration has specifically targeted the worst of the worst.
He's like, you know, your mom is a criminal.
We're turning otherwise good people into what looks like inmates.
I never had this before in my past. We are immigrants. We're no delinquents.
Seeing the despair that they feel and feeling powerless to do anything about it.
It's not criminals like they told us it was going to be, okay? It's not bad people.
And I voted for President Trump 3 times. This is not exactly what I voted for.
This building became a hub of immigration enforcement in San Diego. ICE agents started arresting people as they showed up to their immigration court hearings. This is really different than what we'd seen before. Unlike arrests outside where people work or neighborhood streets. These arrests were happening inside of a high security federal building where most people can't see. Federal policy prohibits any recordings inside of courtrooms or even hallways. The videos we have seen from inside this building aren't shot by journalists. They're captured on cell phones by activists.
Please don't touch me. Do not touch me. Do not touch
So yes, while our station and others have covered standout arrests and cases, frankly, our inability to shoot video or record audio has really limited media coverage. So as an investigative team, we wanted to do something other news outlets haven't. So we committed to spending weeks inside immigration court, spending entire days here, sitting in on hundreds of hearings to get a picture of what's really happening here in San Diego. So unlike any other court that we typically cover, dockets aren't posted publicly online. The staff won't even give us a copy once we're inside. The only way to find out if you can observe a hearing is to show up. Sometimes we were turned away. Generally, immigration court rules allow the public to watch hearings. But here in San Diego, court officials only allowed us in status hearings. If we wanted to watch a final individual hearing, we needed the immigrant to okay our presence. And we got it on one occasion, but it's hard to come by because we're not allowed inside those hearings to ask for permission. The court system says this is to protect immigrants because some of the information in those hearings is really private. Sometimes final hearings made up the majority of the docket for an entire morning or afternoon. Other days, so it's actually a really busy day today in court. There will be probably enough courtrooms for all 3 of us to sit in and observe cases. No phones and no laptops meant we relied on note-taking the old-fashioned way.
It was a man and woman and 3 kids, and they sat on the bench next to me.
On breaks, we'd share observations on protocol, phrases, forms, and statutes frequently said out loud.
Pretty similar for me as well. I had like 21 cases.
We wanted to know as much as we could what kinds of cases judges were hearing, what countries immigrants came from, and what happened to them. At the end of each day, we manually entered those notes into a spreadsheet, making our own database. Immigration court is separate from courts under the judicial branch. It's not a criminal court or even like a traditional civil court. So what is immigration court and how do people end up there? The main legal pathway to immigrating to the U.S. is through a sponsor, either a family member or an employer. In both cases, those sponsors file a petition with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. People without a sponsor can also file their own petition for a green card or apply for humanitarian protection under asylum or as a refugee. There are a lot of fees and paperwork involved, not to mention an interview. If the government decides to grant someone a green card, they have legal status to live and work in the United States. If the federal government thinks you don't belong here and should be deported, that's when people wind up in immigration court. This includes people who have green cards but commit certain crimes, overstayed their visa, spent too much time outside the U.S., or in some cases, people who came here through a school or a job sponsor but quit school or changed careers. It also includes people who cross the border illegally.
If you're in this country unlawfully, you have no right to be here and you must be removed. That's what the law says. Somehow over the last 20 years, we've completely lost this notion that somehow or completely adopted this idea that yes, we have immigration laws, but once you come into our country illegally, it triggers all kinds of rights that can keep you here indefinitely. That's why we were being flooded at the border. And we've ended that.
Most hearings that go before judges here are one of two types: master calendar hearings and individual hearings. Master calendar hearings are basically status hearings. Judges set a new date to come back to court or give attorneys more time to prep. They also hear motions from the Department of Homeland Security or immigrants about any changes to their case. Dozens of these happen every day. Individual hearings are where a judge hears evidence and ultimately decides whether someone gets to stay or gets deported. San Diego's immigration court is inside the Edward J. Schwartz Federal Building on 880 Front Street downtown. It has 9 courtrooms, most are on the 4th floor. One is on the ground floor. But in between them, on the 2nd floor, ICE has a field office, meaning agents are making arrests without leaving their own building.
What is the basis for detention?
NBC San Diego did not shoot video inside this federal building. However,
If you want to film, you can film all you want.
ICE agents and court security officers told people standing in the hallways numerous times that they were free to record video on their phones.
Thank you.
You can't talk about immigration court without acknowledging the imagery and the tension of ICE agents waiting outside of courtrooms. It wasn't uncommon to see more than 10 agents standing in the hallway. Some of them masked, some wearing bulletproof vests, some of them armed. It's intimidating. And the hearings themselves seem routine, procedural, sterile, but there is a palpable current of tension in the room. Every time the door opened, you could see everyone's heads turn to see if there were ICE agents waiting to make an arrest.
This is wrong.
Nancy Francis has come here every day since May. She is one of dozens of San Diegans who volunteer with an immigrant advocacy group called Detention Resistance. Nancy and others ask folks heading into court whether they want company. They sit in on hearings, take notes, and witness hallway arrests.
This is a person, a father, who has a U.S. citizen wife and U.S. citizen children. He has a family petition pending, and they're arresting him.
I feel like this is the most important thing I can be doing with my time.
The group says it's been observing immigration hearings for years, and they were the first to capture video of these arrests.
You can come with us. You can come with us.
Well, if we weren't here in the hallways, we would have no idea of who has been detained.
Even immigration attorneys say they don't know if their client will face a hallway arrest.
Are you an attorney? Are you an attorney? Can I see your bar card?
But I'm not going to let her walk away with it. They're terrified. They see it. It's even if they know that they're not going to be detained upon leaving, it is traumatic to see. These are masked agents. You know, they're wearing bulletproof vests. Now they're starting to carry guns.
And granted continuance, their case is not dismissed. Okay. We know that. Just give some room.
The fallout can appear arbitrary, like when this ICE agent asked an attorney to pick who he should arrest.
I might think he's gonna give me the options, because I have to take it. But if not, I'll take one.
So, where is the option? Sorry, what would be the option?
I'll take one or I'll take all.
I don't know, it's been shocking just to see this playing out in America.
Thomas also volunteers with Detention Resistance. He asked us not to use his last name. When he first started recording these arrests in late May, advocates reported upwards of 10 arrests a day. Over the month and a half we spent at immigration court, at least 19 people were handcuffed and escorted downstairs by ICE agents. That's out of the more than 400 hearings we observed. That number is likely an undercount because ICE won't say how many people it's arresting inside of immigration court. We could only count the arrests we watched by stepping outside of a courtroom into the hallway. Like when we saw agents escort this man in a wheelchair.
What are you going to do with him?
We'll go downstairs. We'll go downstairs and we'll have a chat. But just follow us, okay?
We're immediately swarmed by masked ICE officers.
Just follow us, okay?
His lawyer, Maria Chavez.
I'm afraid for my clients.
Even for clients she believes have a strong case for asylum, like this man who she says lost his leg from torture.
But we can't stop ICE. You know, like if ICE is going to detain somebody, there's nothing that I can do to physically stop it.
Agents took him into a holding cell in the basement. I stood next to Chavez in the hall as agents refused to let her speak to her client until after he was questioned.
Are you his attorney?
Yes, I'm his attorney. But those, 10 minutes that I was down there waiting to see what was going to happen was terrifying.
Agents ultimately let the man go home. Chavez believes solely because of his medical condition. Other clients haven't been so lucky.
It turns ugly. It gets really ugly and it gets really violent.
We reached out to ICE about that arrest, but they didn't answer our questions. We also reached out to them about court arrests in general, and they never responded to that request. But some Trump administration officials have been outspoken, and they say that this tactic isn't just lawful, it's got some advantages. In a May news release, Homeland Security spokeswoman Tricia McLaughlin called the courthouse arrests common sense. She said they're not only more efficient, they're safer for officers since anyone heading to an immigration hearing is first screened by security to not have any weapons. And some elected leaders not only support court arrests, they celebrate them.
I have to tell you, one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube these days are the court hearings where illegals are in court and ICE shows up to drag them out of court and deport them. I can think of nothing more American today than keeping our streets safer by getting those violent criminals out of the United States of America, and we all have Donald J. Trump to thank for it.
Initially, we were allowed to follow arrests down to the basement outside of the holding cell, as long as we weren't recording any video or audio.
Oh, there is signs. I'm telling you, Kim, because it's a security facility.
But after a couple of days of watching what happens outside of the holding cell, agents told our crew we were no longer allowed anywhere on the floor. Attorneys told us that holding cell is not only where ICE agents question their clients, more often than not, they say it's where clients are booked and moved into inmate transfer vans, waiting by a back door under this carport. From there, attorneys say detention officers drive them out here to the Otay Mesa Detention Center, where they await their immigration hearings. More than 1,300 people are held here.
The policy now seems to be to detain as many people as possible.
Sources started reaching out to NBC San Diego immigration reporter Shelby Bremer.
And I think the day that I was there was the first day that this tactic really started. And I think there were 10 or 11 arrests. And then each day after that, about the same number, I think up to 13 a day for a few weeks.
But unlike months earlier,
we were hearing that people were being held in the basement for long periods at a time. I mean, someone that I followed was detained on a Thursday and didn't get moved until Sunday or Monday. People have told me that there aren't really real beds. They saw shipments of kind of yoga mat-like things being brought into the basement. It's not a place that is designed to hold people for days at a time.
Lawyers, advocates, and our own reporting seems to suggest that the message has been heard loud and clear. Walking into that building no longer means you're going to walk back out. And for many, that has changed the answer on whether trying to do it the right way is worth it.
Well, the impact is that people aren't showing up.
In the past, we saw almost everyone that was given a notice to appear would show back up for their court hearings. But now we're seeing as the news is getting out, increasingly less and less people are actually complying with this process.
The reason that matters is because if you miss a court date here, the consequence is an order for deportation. For nearly 1/3 of all of the hearings we watched, immigrants didn't show. That is more than 100 no-shows. This is where we saw judges exercise a lot of discretion. If you have a case before immigration court, you're required to update your address with the court every time you move. A lot of people kept U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services updated, not realizing that information isn't shared with the court. Some judges seemed sympathetic to people who missed court if they felt they or their attorneys never got a notice to appear. They often gave people one last chance to show. Other judges were quick to issue deportation orders to anyone who missed court. And for 90 of the people we noted as missing their hearing, that was their fate.
And we think that that is an intended effect, that this is an attack not only on these individuals, it is an attack on the entire concept of legal immigration.
Attorneys told us time and time again.
Every client that I have is afraid that if we go to court, if they appear in court, they will be arrested.
No está solo, señor. And I have clients who ask me, is it going to be okay? Am I going to be okay? And the hardest thing is saying, I don't know.
ICE's own data shows over the last year, even immigrants under surveillance are skipping court dates at higher numbers. Hoping to keep people from falling out of the court system, faith leaders are stepping in to shepherd them through it. Priests and parishioners offer companionship inside court hearings.
I just was with a migrant for his check-in, and he thanked me for being there. We prayed before he went in.
Clergy now regularly join activists inside courtrooms.
We want to at least stand with people in that very harrowing time.
Walking with people as they're escorted to the elevators.
I hope it sends the message to the migrants that they're not alone.
Father Scott Santa Rosa also wants to send a message to the entire immigration system.
We want to dignify the very people whose court dates are coming. And they also should dignify people.
Who are the people coming through this courthouse? Out of the 410 hearings we observed, about 1/4 came to the U.S. from a Central or South American country. 74 were Haitian, 44 were Mexican, 16 Venezuelan, 15 Guatemalan, 11 Chinese, and 10 were Afghan. Most were also men. We saw nearly twice as many men as we did women, and a lot of them were asking for asylum.
We'll just walk towards the elevator.
Like this Vietnamese husband and wife, ICE agents escorted as soon as they walked out of their hearing down to the basement floor.
And then I was able to go in a room and speak to them through a window on a telephone as they were trying to see, please help me, please help me. And I feel helpless myself.
Their lawyer, Stephen Ure, said ICE agents booked both.
They're looking for answers that, I can't give. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to help these people because I've done nothing wrong.
Ure says the couple fled to the U.S. after the husband was tortured and abused in a Vietnamese jail for speaking out against the government.
All they wanted was to seek shelter in America from a communist country.
Like many of the hearings we watched, his clients entered the U.S. about a year ago seeking asylum. Between 2023 and 2025, more than 900,000 people came to the U.S. legally with temporary status by making an online appointment to request asylum with Customs and Border Patrol. The Biden administration encouraged people to make those appointments to discourage illegal border crossings. Instead, using a free mobile app, anyone could set up an interview with an agent at a border port of entry. If they passed a background check and security screening, they could enter the U.S., even if they didn't have entry paperwork. That last part is a really big deal. Before the free app, with rare exception, anyone who crossed the border without proper documents would be detained while they waited for their case to go before a judge. Right off the bat, that app was met with a lot of criticism. Humanitarian groups pointed out major tech glitches, wait times, and access issues for people without a smartphone. Even congressional Democrats raised privacy concerns. Meanwhile, Republicans argued it encouraged illegal immigration.
Preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
Minutes after President Donald Trump took office, CBP shut down the app's appointment function, and by April, his administration revoked the temporary status of everyone who entered the U.S. this way, making hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers a target for arrest and immediate deportation.
They were walking right into our country. So we have to look at all those cases because that's the safety and concern for our citizens.
They've been here less than 2 years, and that's the new policy.
Aware of that policy, Yor checked with the ICE office on the second floor ahead of their hearing. He said agents there told him the couple wasn't on their list. Still?
I had a horrible feeling before the hearing started. We're in the courtroom, and the door opened, and I looked over my shoulder outside into the hallway, and I could see the ICE officers there.
Mid-hearing, the DHS attorney made an oral motion to dismiss their case, which would speed up their deportation. Like many of these motions we witnessed, the judge did not grant that motion. In fact, they gave Yor's clients another court date to prepare a response.
And so I was hoping against hope that we were going to walk out and ICE were there for somebody else. And that was a hard lesson.
Agents arrested them both anyway.
It's very sad. It's very sad. And it's like an enormous weight on me and other immigration lawyers when you live with these people and you help them and you work with them, and then disaster strikes and their whole life is upside down. For what? Because they wanted to come to America? Because they believed in the American dream? Because they believed in the American promise? Is it real? I don't know. I know America's been very good to me. I'm an immigrant. It's been very good to me, and I can't say otherwise.
So do you feel like you let your clients down?
Yes. I do. I do. I take it home with me. I really do. Rethinking. Should have said this to the judge. Should have said that, but it was over before I got out of bed this morning. It was already decided, regardless of what the judge was going to rule.
Even asylum seekers here in the U.S. longer than 2 years, who've worked and made a home here, say they're now afraid.
Because right now we don't know where we are.
Sendahan Alvarado and his mom have called the U.S. home for the last 7 years.
I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful with America. I love this country.
In Venezuela, Hassan's mother protested against President Nicolas Maduro's rise to power and regime. Hassan attended and photographed those protests. Actions, he says, placed a target on his family.
We don't have any future.
Human rights watchdog groups have tied the Venezuelan National Guard and police to thousands of killings and arrests of Maduro's opponents.
Sometimes we go to class and, for example, some friend, they're not coming anymore. And then we don't know anything about him.
Hassan said military groups shook down his family's business for money, but the true breaking point came after Hassan says his family escaped motorists shooting at their car. Hassan said his family came to the U.S. on a tourist visa, but during that trip, he says his mother realized returning to Venezuela would be deadly. So they applied for political asylum, and within 6 months, the first Trump administration granted them Social Security numbers and cleared them both to work and live temporarily in the U.S. Hassan's mom now works at Walmart. Meanwhile, Hassan has made a career out of his TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube videos, where he has cumulatively more than 40 million online followers.
This is part of my studio, and I have another studio upstairs for my podcast.
Half Syrian, Hassan's family are practicing Muslims.
This is my personality on social media.
His social media persona, El Pana Árabe, is Spanish for your Arab friend.
This is what I do normally.
He aims to share Arabic vocabulary and culture, spread inspiring videos, and make people laugh. The income paid for him to buy a home in San Diego 2 years ago.
Be here for 7 years. Like, I'm paying my taxes, I pay my things, like I buy in a house. 1, 2, 3.
And each week, he carves out time to volunteer feeding the hungry. But Asen has seen the ICE arrests on the news.
I'm very scared for my future because I have everything here. I don't want to leave. So,
I sleep fewer hours.
From late nights
So this
to earlier mornings.
is where I sleep.
Immigration attorney Alan Anzaruth has more clients than desk space.
It would take me literally 3 hours to clean that desk, and I don't have 3 hours.
Because dozens of his clients aren't new.
Here is a stack of cases of what I'm supposed to work on today.
People he represented years ago just got new court dates, seemingly overnight. The government can ask the court to administratively close a case. It doesn't drop the allegations. It's more like hitting a pause button, one that often lasts years, if not decades. In the meantime, people get the green light to stay and work in the U.S. These are cases where, for whatever reason, the government decided deportation wasn't a priority. In fact, sometimes Homeland Security shuts a case specifically to give people more time to find a legal way to stay. And DHS did this for thousands of cases a year for decades. But now the administration is going back to this stockpile of old cases and funneling thousands of people back into court. NBC San Diego Investigates analyzed millions of immigration court case records spanning decades. In 2025, the number of paused cases put back on court dockets went off the charts. Nationally, these kinds of cases surged from more than 14,000 last year to more than 100,000 in 2025. And that's just through August. Thousands of those cases were called back to 880 Front Street, where San Diego has seen an even greater spike than the national average. In all of last year, less than 350 San Diego cases were reopened. This year, that number shot up to nearly 3,000, an increase of 752%. And again, that number is just through August.
And it seems overwhelming.
These cases are so old, says Anzaruth, many of these files have outdated information. He says at least 15 times the court sent notices to appear for people with a paused case to the wrong address for his office.
This is one case.
And he worries that those are just the ones he knows about. Immigration attorney Michael Herman says in the past, only 1 or 2 clients with a paused case were called back to court a year.
Now we're seeing recalendaring of cases every week.
Of the hundreds of hearings we sat in on, more than a quarter were these callbacks, and most were paused more than a decade ago.
Oh, it's become incredibly heavy with work.
That's something every attorney we met in court expressed feeling. Overwhelmed and burnt out. Many now have dozens of cases dropped on top of their existing caseload. Cases like Jose Juan Casares Moreno. Homeland Security paused his case back in 2016.
Since then, he's worked, paid taxes, and welcomed many grandchildren.
NBC San Diego's Shelby Bremer followed his family into court for his first hearing in nearly a decade.
He's not only a good father, a good grandparent, but he's also a good role model.
Jose has a green card, and he's lived in the U.S. for almost 40 years.
He was not detained that day, but that was before the detentions at check-ins really started to pick up again in mid-October. So his next hearing was scheduled for January, but his attorney did file a motion to dismiss the case entirely. So if he has to appear at that hearing in January, if he has to check in, I think his family is going to be scared once again.
If he had a green card, why was he even in immigration court?
Because he had the misdemeanor conviction, that changes his status a little bit, because part of the stipulation of a green card is to not commit crimes. And so even if it's a minor violation, they can still bring an immigration case. And so that's why he was brought into immigration court all those years ago. But because it was a misdemeanor conviction, it was a small violation, they didn't necessarily see him as a priority to deport. And that's why his case was tabled years ago.
It's not just immigrants and their families' lives at stake inside this building. Some say what's playing out puts American lives in danger overseas.
long term, I think it puts our military at great risk.
Iraq War Navy veteran Sean Van Diver founded Afghan Evac. It's a nonprofit that helps relocate Afghan nationals who helped American soldiers overseas.
Look, we couldn't have accomplished any missions without them. There's nothing that we could have done well.
Something the federal government openly acknowledged. During the withdrawal of its military forces in Afghanistan, the Department of Defense pledged to expedite special visa and refugee status for Afghan nationals who aided American forces. That promise went up in smoke in the summer of 2025, when the Trump administration revoked temporary protective status for thousands of Afghans living in the U.S. But it's what happened inside San Diego immigration court that sparked national outrage.
I worked U.S. military back in my home country, Afghanistan.
In June, ICE agents arrested an Afghan interpreter as he stepped out of a routine immigration hearing. His arrest video went viral. Van Diver says it illustrated what many veterans consider a betrayal of promises. Promises made by the U.S. government to Afghan nationals who risked their lives to help American soldiers. Since his arrest, Afghan Evac has launched a nationwide initiative where veterans accompany Afghan nationals as they attend immigration hearings.
We're just not going to stand idly by while they're terrorizing our friends and neighbors.
He says more than 800 veterans have volunteered to attend hearings across the country. We were in court when more than 15 veterans gathered in this courtyard ahead of an immigration hearing for an Afghan. In that case, the Afghan national walked out without being detained, walking past more than a dozen ICE and detention officers with their faces covered.
Afghan wartime allies, they left Afghanistan because the Taliban does that. The Taliban covers their faces.
Masked agents have become emblematic of President Trump's immigration crackdown. Homeland Security officials have repeatedly insisted they're necessary.
I would say that they wear masks at times to protect their identities from dangerous situations. The leadership teams, we leave that up to them to discern what's necessary in certain situations, making sure that they are safe while they do this job.
Still, not only do masks unsettle Afghan refugees, Van Diver says the practice is extremely upsetting to many veterans.
We actually have a really hard time with the fact that they're covering their faces, that they don't have the courage to do their job with their whole chest. And we think that if they don't have the courage to do it, they should stop doing that job.
Common response that we've received from some ICE officials or Homeland Security officials is, well, this is to protect their family. It's to not endanger their loved ones because what they're doing might not be popular.
Tough shit. That's what, we have to do this stuff all the time, right? The military does stuff all over the world. Almost all of us have kicked in doors, have deployed overseas, has had to go and do things similar to what ICE is doing. But we didn't cover our faces. We didn't hide our names.
Even if ICE agents hide their faces, Van Diver says the world is watching what happens when you help American soldiers overseas.
If we don't keep our promises to Afghans, it's going to be really hard for local populations to believe us when we say, stand with us, we'll stand with you. Because why would they?
Not everyone taken into custody winds up in one of these vans headed to Otay Mesa. Some leave under surveillance, wearing a GPS ankle monitor. Among them,
I'm feeling very scared and sad because, I never had this before in my past. We don't are like bad people,
According to an ICE database, more than 30,000 immigrants are currently forced to wear an ankle monitor, and that number has increased by the thousands over the last year, and includes Hassan, who didn't have to wear one until recently.
They say, no, it's just a process, but where I'm going, this is my home. This is where I'm living. I have 7 years in this country, and I feel America is my house.
About the same weight as a smartphone. For Hassan, it's
very embarrassing and scary. This traumatized me because it's very hard. It's hard to have it.
Despite that, Hassan hasn't stopped donating his time to help others.
Hola, señora, ¿cómo está? Buenos días.
And plans to fight to stay in the U.S.
I'm happy to be here. And I'm very happy. Scared right now for this, but happy.
For others, it's too much. immigration attorneys say a growing number are giving up and leaving the U.S.
I've had a number of people just say, I'm not doing this. They're just exhausted.
Out of 410 hearings we watched, there were 10 cases where people gave up and agreed to voluntarily self-deport. It gives immigrants time to get their affairs in order and leave the country. And it also clears their immigration history, meaning they could try to re-enter again. I think it'll get much worse before it gets better. I mean, I've got people who are, green card holders who are calling me, and they're terrified. Well, what if this? What if that? People who are citizens who got naturalized are now, will I be denaturalized? Is there a chance of that happening? And I said, in the past I would laugh at such a question, but now I'm, I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people we interviewed will tell you, yes, it's important to see what's happening in these hallways. Equally as important is to take stock of the people pushing back.
While it's demoralizing and upsetting, it's also encouraging to see that people are responding, people are showing up for people that they don't even know, but because they understand that what's going on is wrong.
The last thing you do is close your eyes and walk away from this. I can't do that.